folks, welcome back. This is Mark Larson.
And that's Alan Parks.
And we are the Smart Fellers. Hey, today's video. So you want to hire a band? Okay, so...
What questions do you ask?
And what questions do people have? Well, we're going to answer questions you haven't asked. We're mostly directing this information towards people that have never hired a band before. Say you're having a party and you want a live band, or you're just new at this. Not so much directed at people who hire bands already for, say, at bars or restaurants or special events or things like that, but more for the private person who has never hired a band before, or you may have and it all went horribly wrong, and maybe we can help you figure out why. So to get into this, we've written down some bullet points that we're going to discuss, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more information available too. So really, one of the first things that we'd like to emphasize is, you get what you pay for. This is one of those fields that you get what you pay for.
Right. Can you guys play for $100, for $150? Well,
For 3 hours.
for 3 hours, okay. Well, for $200, you can get us both.
Yeah, a duo.
A duo, or you can get a crappy band,
Right.
or a garage band, or something like that.
So here's the funny thing is our field of music, of playing music, is a large percentage of people who play music are weekend warriors or amateurs, or we depend on this for our living. Many musicians don't, mostly because it doesn't pay very well, but
they have other jobs.
But they have other jobs. Most musicians have a day job. An awful lot of us don't have day jobs, but an awful lot do.
Yeah.
So that's always a big consideration. If you want a really good band, you're probably going to have to pay a lot of money for it. So we'll talk about how much money a little bit later.
Yeah.
We'll get to the good part later. But that's really something to keep in mind. You get what you pay for with musicians. So say you want to hire a band and you see them playing at a club or a restaurant or something, and you want them to play at your backyard party. Let's just use the hypothetical backyard party.
Just go up to them right in the middle of a song and ask them
how much they charge. That's a good way to get the stink eye. Here's what you do. Is between songs is sometimes acceptable, but better yet, wait for them to go on break.
Yeah.
The most you're going to have to wait is an hour.
Or 45 minutes.
It's less than an hour usually. And ask them for some contact information. Not, how much do you charge? Because...
there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, they've got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So it's uncomfortable, and you don't come right out of the gate and ask about money right in people's faces.
Because if you live in town, that's fine. But if you live 50 miles away,
it's going to be more expensive.
5 people have to drive there, then it's going to cost more.
It's going to cost more. So there's questions. So don't just hit them with the fee right out of the gate, because it's not like. It's not like going to the store and buying a thing that has a price tag on it. It really doesn't. It depends. It varies on many different factors. So just get contact information, contact them, contact the band, musicians, and discuss it on the phone or at a meeting, and not at the gig when the band leader's trying to get a drink or wipe the sweat off or something like that. It's not the time. Okay. So, so let's say you've got a band and they're going to be playing in your backyard party. Here's some things to realize about the backyard party.
Yeah. Where's the outlet?
Right. Power.
Most bands are going to require one outlet.
Yeah, you don't need a lot usually.
A 15 amp circuit, it's fine. They're just going to, branch off of that with their power strips and whatnot. Yeah. Unless there's lights involved, then...
That does take a bit more power. Well, the LEDs these days aren't as bad.
Right.
You know, those are a little nicer, but still,
Yeah.
that draws a little bit of power. But yeah, you don't even necessarily have to provide the extension cord to get it there, but you need to let the band know that they need an extension cord to get it there. It's
Right.
best if you have one
And
provided.
also, please don't just put plywood on the ground and expect that to be a stage.
That's not a stage.
It's not a stage.
And don't build one on pallets either, because that seldom works. Just a space. We prefer not to play on the grass or in dirt, because
Yeah.
we've got cables and stuff that sits in there. Gravel. Something paved is
Yeah.
usually nice, or a deck
Yeah.
is much nicer.
Or a rug, you throw a rug out over the grass or the dirt.
Yeah.
But sometimes that doesn't work either,
Yeah,
especially if there's a drummer involved.
Yeah, it's soft.
You know, you go to hit your drum and it's wobbling.
Right. And speaking of drummers setting up, they like somewhere level.
Oh yeah.
You can't set up on a hill. That's problematic. So you need power. You need somewhere stable for the band to set up. We also, if it's outdoors, shade.
Gotta have shade.
Gotta have shade. Just a market umbrella doesn't even do it for a duo.
And a lot of the pop-ups don't work either. It's got to be the one with the high
Centers.
center. And usually by the time the party's happening, it's in the late afternoon. The sun's coming in the side, and it never really works out very well.
Yeah, you have to put the canopy way off to the side
Yeah,
in order
right.
for us to be in the shade. And Mark's tall, so he always hits his head on the canopies, or
Yeah.
his feet are in the sun.
And I've
You know,
got
in the
black
middle,
shoes on.
in the middle of August, on the pavement.
Oh my god.
And I play upright bass. It's tall. So,
And not to mention, it's bad for the instruments.
right, the direct sunlight. We've played a Mike High Gents gig once where they stuck us out in the middle of a lawn, no shade,
Yeah.
and it got up to around 100 degrees.
Yeah, in the 1930s, Rickenbacker steel guitar melted.
Melted.
And quit working.
Yeah, the amplifier stopped working.
That's right. And my feet were so hot, I had to stand so that my legs were shading my toes. And they were still hot.
For some reason, your feet are always hot. When
I
you get
don't
them in
know
the sun,
why it
your
always
feet
happens
get
to me.
hot. That's funny.
I always. Anyway.
So
Anyway, it's miserable.
it's miserable. But other things to think about the band require, infrastructure-wise, is we need somewhere to put our cases.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we just pile them off to the side,
Looks terrible.
it looks horrible. It's a mess. Just somewhere out of the way we can stash our cases. Maybe somewhere to change. A lot of times when we load in, we'll be wearing crummy clothes because we're getting down on the ground and plugging stuff in. We're hauling stuff and whatnot, but we want to change into nicer clothes for the gig. So somewhere to change is good.
Yeah, or maybe we coming from our clown gig.
You're coming from a clown gig. I'm coming from my mime gig.
Oh, okay.
So those things are worth thinking about. And the location, coming back to the location, somewhere flat, level. We've been stuck before playing yard parties, and they
on
say,
the others.
other side of the swimming pool,
Yeah.
which you may as well just put a stereo over there, really, because nobody's going to interact with the band. It's too far away for the band to affect the audience.
If you're going to have a band and you're going to pay for it, make it part of the party. Don't just stick them over there in the corner and say, oh, it'll be too loud if it's over here. No, put them by the bar.
That's best. That's really best.
Because we like to interact with the people in the party too. And that's when people are standing there waiting to get a drink. That's when the magic happens.
That's what we're for, yeah, exactly. Or when they've had a drink. Or
Both.
3. So that's a consideration, where exactly to put the band. And it happens constantly that the band is hell and gone away from everybody else. And you might as well have cardboard cutouts and a stereo playing. It's not terrific. Okay, so moving on to, you're having a backyard party. Do you feed the band?
Yes.
Right. It's really nice if you do. If you can't, if it's a catered event, and there's only, so many plates for so many guests, and this happens at weddings a lot too.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine. Just let us know so that we can be prepared for that. We might be coming from another gig, and we'll, we'll bring a bag of food along. And,
Yeah, we'll bring
you
a
know,
sandwich or something.
Yeah.
And that's fine. For and then drinks as well. It's great if you involve the band in your party. Bear in mind that the musicians as alcoholic drunks is a stereotype. Yeah, some are, but most are not. So don't be afraid to let them have some drinks. Most musicians won't drink the bar dry. And and speaking to changing tack a little bit to bars, playing at bars, say you have a band that you want to play at your bar or restaurant, a limited amount of drinks per member is fine. Drink tickets really work well.
Well, just because you had one band that came in there and ruined it for everybody else doesn't mean all the bands are going to come in and drink you.
Or be like that. Don't hire that band again. But
Yeah.
but you don't really need to punish everybody else because of that.
Right.
But drink tickets are a really good thing. 2 drinks per band member. Drink tickets. Tell the bartender. It's easy to keep track of, or they can keep a list or something. A lot of times when it's like a bar tab and it's a certain amount of money and you can get food and drinks on that, and that's all they provide. Those sometimes work, sometimes they don't work.
Well,
So,
if you're just offering tips,
if you're just paying
have
tips,
somebody on your staff, or take the tip jar around every so often, once a set or something like that. Maybe the band doesn't have somebody to do that for them, but it always makes a difference when somebody does that.
right. So that brings us to the money part. I was going to talk about that in the money.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you jumped ahead.
Yeah.
You jumped ahead. Right. So let's get to the good part. Money. Okay. We'll revisit the tips thing. Some gigs are food and tips gigs. Food, drink, tips. And I'm talking at bars and restaurants. Musicians will play. We will play places that are basically drinks and tips. There's one place near us that we play that we love playing, but it pays in beer and tips. Mark doesn't drink, so the beer's out for him. I'm working, so I'm not drinking much. And tips. Now, the way this works, and the reason we'll play there, is the bartenders send the tip jar around. They physically hold it in front of people, say, tip the band.
Yeah.
And that really works. And that works really well for a lot of places. It makes a huge difference. If it's just in front of the band, and you have to say, please tip the band. Hey, don't forget to tip the band.
And most people are uncomfortable walking up in front of the band in the middle of a song to put money in a tip jar, too.
Exactly, yeah.
So it kind of doesn't really work unless somebody
grabs it and moves it around the room.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. And even if the band does it during a break, that's a little weird. It's nice if somebody's doing it while the band's playing, and do it more than once. Like once per set, twice per set is good. And it makes a difference, and it'll pay. So that's really a good thing. Now, for you folks who aren't running bars and restaurants, and this is a private event, now let's talk about money. As we sit now in early 2021, we figure it's worth leaving the house for $100 a man. It's worth leaving the house. We'd really like to get paid more because we think we're worth it. There's a lot of buried costs in music
If you break that $100 down by the hour,
that we've put into the gig.
it doesn't come out to a lot.
Right. You get rehearsals. We rehearse a lot. We practice a lot. We've got tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I mean, look at this. This is just Mark's.
We have reliable cars.
Yeah, exactly. We have a way to get to the gig that we know will get us to the gig. So $100 a man is just bare minimum to get out. I would say $200 a man is starting to feel like an income. And remember, you get what you pay for.
Yeah. I mean, well, if you figure in the 70s, the bars were paying, what, $300
Yeah.
for a band?
Right.
For a night? We're not even getting that now.
Yeah.
So
That hasn't changed. 50 years, it hasn't changed.
it's pretty grim, really.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that'll change when the pandemic's over. Maybe.
Well, yeah, because it's nothing right now. So don't get sticker shock when you talk to the band and they throw a big number at you. And it's negotiable. It's usually negotiable. But
consider how much you're paying for your caterer or some other
exactly right.
service that you're paying for
Exactly
for
right.
your event.
Yeah, you're not going to ask, even if it's a charity event. Don't ask the band to play for free. Some bands will have a lower rate for charity events, but the caterer's not coming for free. The food isn't free. The valet parking guys aren't free. Pay your musicians. It's a big line is, you play the event, it's going to be good exposure. People have died of exposure.
Yeah, well,
it's seldom good exposure.
It hardly ever works that way.
Yeah, it hardly ever works that way. So you arrive at a price, and the bands expect to get paid at the end of the gig. We usually don't expect to get paid ahead of time. Some bands will insist on a deposit that is non-refundable if it's less than a certain amount of time before the gig, usually like a couple weeks. But we have that time marked out on our calendars, reserved just for you. Please don't cancel it at the last minute, because we could have had another gig. And this happens fairly regularly, actually. Yeah. So cash is good. Cash is great. Checks are fine. Make sure you talk to the band ahead of time. We'll talk money. Venmo, PayPal, those sort of things, those are fine. Those work really well, but make sure it's there at the end of the gig. If you hire the band and you plan on getting bombed, pay them before you get bombed.
Don't make us come find you.
Don't make us come looking for you because you're asleep somewhere. That seldom happens. Just
one time that happened to me. And
did it really?
I found the woman. She was in bed.
No kidding. Yeah, I played I put together a gig for an event for something that was downtown, and we played our allotted amount of time for the allotted amount of money, and the guy who hired us was pretty well lit and wanted us to play longer, and I insisted and he was going to pay for us to play longer. I insisted he paid us before we played longer.
Right.
And boy, did he put up a stink. But I stuck to my guns, and no hard feelings, but I'm glad I did, because by the time we finished that extra hour, he was somewhere else. So, do you have anything else to add to care and feeding of live musicians?
Hire us often.
Yeah, hire more live music.
Yeah.
If nothing else, go see them in local venues.
Yeah.
Go see them at the bars that we're not making money. Tip us. Buy the CDs.
We're not talking $1 in the tip jar.
Yeah,
right?
That's hard to divide by 3.
5.
By 5. $1. No, you can divide it by 5. That's 20 cents each.
Well,
that's a good gig.
Here's your 20
Here's your
cents.
20 cents. Anyway, just support live music. That's mostly what we ask. So,
yeah,
there we have it. I think
we got it.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
So, anyway, hit like, hit subscribe.
Ring the bell.
There's a bell to ring. That's always fun. Anyway, so we're going to sign up.
Turns you on.
I
buddy.
know. You got to have a hobby. And it's a fairly harmless one.
Does it pay?
No.
Okay.
No, inundated by amateurs.
Oh.
Yeah, so anybody can do it, really. So anyway, once again, that's Mark Larson.
And that's Alan Parks.
And we are
The
the Smart
Smart Fellers.
Fellers. Yay! We'll see you next time.
Bye.